Hey, what's good, beautiful people? Welcome to my channel. My name is Chella, or you can call me your lawyer bestie. And I'm an admitted attorney of the High Court of South Africa who thought that the only thing she could do with her LLB degree is go into practice. And that is far from the truth. So I've decided to start this series on non-traditional legal careers and profile people who are doing amazing things with their LLB degrees without having been in practice. And today's guest is Nosipho. I am so excited for this because Nosipho was headhunted and she now lives and works in the UAE. So this is a South African qualified individual. She got her degree here as well as additional certifications, but she's now working in compliance in the UAE. She has an incredible career journey that is inspiring from all levels. She shares so many gems in this episode, and if you want to get into compliance and also just want to up your game when it comes to excellence, this is definitely the episode for you. I'm not in compliance, but I took away so much from what she shared. And I'm so grateful to have her in this episode. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Drop down to the comment section and leave a comment or a question for me or Nosipho, and we will get back to you. And subscribe to the channel so the family can grow. And don't forget to share this episode with somebody who you know could use this information. Now, without wasting any more time, let's get into it. Nosipho, thank you so much for agreeing to be on my channel. I am so excited for this conversation. Please introduce yourself to the people watching.
Thank you so much, Hila. My name is Nosipho. I am South African, but currently based in the UAE. And I'm just someone who loves nature. I'm someone who loves reading books. And I'm just someone who loves interactions like this one where we connect and share ideas. So, yeah, that's all about me.
Thank you so much for that. We are here to discuss basically your career journey. So first things first, what is it that you do? What is your title and what does that entail on a daily basis?
Okay, so I'm a senior ethics and compliance specialist, and really my career has evolved from just someone who is just a compliance team member to someone who implements and really mature compliance programs. But in a nutshell, I simplify compliance or regulatory requirements for a living. I turn processes and regulatory requirements and the law into simplified processes, but also I look into innovative ways and how I can really speak the message of compliance and ethics and data privacy. So these are the areas I really touch on my everyday work.
Oh, okay. So, before you graduated with your LLB, did you know that there was things that you could do with your degree outside of practice? Or were you like the many of us who were just like, we need to get into practice or there's nothing else for us? Did you have an idea that you could go, a different path other than admission?
Okay, so my story is slightly different because I was in the journey of discovery from such a young age. I, you know, studied the LLB, and while I was studying the LLB, I did discover that probably for me, going into the practice route would not be something that I yearn for or I would like to pursue, and always really fell in love with the idea of understanding businesses, operation, and on different operational scenarios. And but at the time I did not know exactly as to how can I combine this yearning for entrepreneurship and understanding businesses, and also at the same time I'm starting this legal degree that is teaching me about the law of South Africa, and I'm already in it. So what I did is I did, study my LLB degree. And I was unemployed after for 3 months. And just because I did not want to apply for the articles, that was, I mean, like the route that was already planned out for most law degree holders. I mean, like I knew exactly I needed to apply for the articles, I needed to get myself
Mm-hmm.
ready to go into a law firm. But really, I didn't do that. So for 3 months, I did research as to what are the alternatives. Where should I go? How should I find myself in this world where I know that I want to expand my expertise, but I have this foundation, which is law? Then I did my research, then I found this Toyota sort of learnership and junior position, and applied for it, and I got the job, and that was my entry into, I guess, the legal field per se. But then it progressed into risk, compliance, governance. So for me, I'm a world of sort of support when it comes to these, compliance, risk, governance, and so on. So yeah, that's how it started.
So when we were feeling the pressure in third year and fourth year to apply for articles, you were not feeling that.
Not at all. I think I knew exactly that I don't want to go into that route. I mean, like I already had friends that were had already applied to these really prestigious law firms, and they already set for it, and I kind of was walking the process with them while they're applying, or just like asking questions. But I knew that was not me at all.
Mm.
I wanted something different. I was yearning for a different experience, and eventually, after years of searching and really establishing who I am and what I want, I did find my niche, so to speak.
Mm. No, going against the tide is not easy. I can just imagine that time where you are unemployed and it seems like you're sort of lazy in that you don't want to apply for articles. Like, what is it that you're trying to apply for? And at the same time, you're trying to do research in order to figure out where you're going. And that
Yeah.
story resonates with me so much because I went through a period of unemployment. So I was in practice and I did not like practice. So I lived practice without a plan. So I had no plan. I didn't know what I wanted. I just knew that I didn't want to be in practice. So there were months where I was unemployed, trying to see what it is that I can do with this degree. And at that point, I even considered starting another degree because I thought my prospects are looking very low. But I'm so glad that you and I are having this conversation, and somebody who's going through something similar can learn from your experience and the fact that there is more beyond practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's definitely
Mm.
more. I think at the time it was just so hard to find. I think now there's a world of individuals that have sort of
Uh-huh.
gone through this different journey, and there's a bit of information. I had to really
Yes.
dig, and I remember having an interview with this lady, recruitment lady, at that time. And I think for me, I just didn't have the word for it. I just said, "Can I please join a company, a multinational company, and just
Yeah.
learn about everything?" And I had this. I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn about strategy. I wanted to learn about everything. And I guess curiosity does lead you to the right direction. If you're curious, it means that you're looking for something, and you might just find yourself in the right direction. So that was the path for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. So we touched on, you graduating with an LLB degree, the phase of unemployment, as well as, you searching and then landing at Toyota, that was your job after you got your degree. Take us through from there, from you in Toyota, working for Toyota, to where you are today. where are some of like the institutions that you've worked for? You don't have to name them, but you can just say, if it's a bank, you'll just say it's a bank or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can just say, just where you have worked and what you have done. So starting from your first job, what was your role then? Because I'm guessing also, as a compliance officer, you don't just hop in as a compliance officer. Surely there's other things that will lead you to being a compliance officer. So when you get in, when we say entry level role, for you, what was that entry level role?
Okay. As I said, the Toyota role was a junior role, so legal
Mm-hmm.
advisory type of role, and I think we're familiar with those. But I was joining a team that comprises of risk and contract management at the time as well.
Okay.
And I got to
Yeah.
learn about those skills. And I think fundamentally, the crux of just finding who you are in your career involves you surrendering to whatever industry or whatever path that you are taking. So as soon as you understand that at the time that you're starting your junior position, that you absolutely don't know anything, but you have this foundational knowledge that will equip you to be able to add value in the long run. You may add value at the time, absolutely, but I think that as you mature, you kind of find yourself, you have your own voice in the organization as well. So I think for me, I knew exactly that, yes, my friends have gone through to the law firms. Yes, they're anticipating certain positions, certain pay, certain, and I wasn't anticipating anything. Like, absolutely. At the first, like, sort of junior positions, I wasn't anticipating anything. I wanted to learn about, how to negotiate the contract, how to draft the best contracts. And once I moved from that, I wanted to learn about how to, mitigate risk, how to study a risk scenario within an organization, or how to identify risk within an organization. So I think for me, my learning journey was not about anticipation to say that once I've done with this junior role, I'm
Mm,
going to get a mid-level role,
mm,
or what. I just wanted to learn this topic and move. So I started studying at the same time. So I did your risk management courses, I did your compliance courses, and at this same time, I moved from Durban to Joburg. And I guess, like, being in Joburg, such a colorful city, I mean, like, there's this energy where everybody's just chasing their dreams, and I knew
yeah.
exactly that I'm part of this melting pot.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I have learned these skills that are sort of foundational, understanding the business, I have some legal understanding and some legal work that I've done now. So the question was to, where do I go from here? And really for me was to say, you like compliance. This is the new thing that everybody is talking about, but you have studied it, you have gone to fit and got a qualification on this thing. And now, how do you go about it? I knew that even though I was in an automotive industry, which had some compliance, but I needed to join a highly regulated sort of industry. So my
Mm,
search at the time was that I'm looking for a highly regulated industry, either a bank, either a pharmaceutical industry, and I ended up in one of the big four banks here in South Africa. Um, really learned about compliance, and really the banking industry is such a good, because there are certain divisions or department that really eats compliance for breakfast in the banking industry, and you really learn about the tools around compliance and just really how important it is to embed the culture of compliance and to embed the requirements correctly, so it can be able to enable business to be able to sell. Such a simple thing. You are a compliance officer, make sure that you apply this across in a correct manner, so business and so the bank can be able to sell their products. And that is the banking industry. It also requires you to be creative as to how is this product going to be sold, but still within the law or still in compliance with the law.
With the law, yes.
Yeah, so then I moved from the banking industry to development finance, and so that was deal making, and that was mostly customer due diligence, and that's where really I started finding my niche in terms of compliance, because compliance itself is obviously. A big pillar, and therefore you need to then find your niche. And some would obviously go and do, the phase qualification, and that's more in the banking industry or insurance industry. And some would do other industries as well, HSE or health and safety, all of those things. And for me, I got into the area of data privacy, and at the time, the law was just introduced. The Poppy Act was just introduced, and I saw it as an opportunity for me to be
Mm.
able to implement this law in the organization that I was working for at the time. And I used that opportunity to take on this new law and implement it and turn it into processes, and really communicate it throughout the organization and embed that data privacy culture. From there, I moved into the payment industry, which also was highly regulated, but also it required me to harness my sort of data privacy sort of skills and so on. And now we are 9 years in, and I found myself also in the UAE, and I'm implementing compliance frameworks, data privacy frameworks. I'm doing ethics related investigations. It's been a journey of learning, of absorbing, of implementing, of failing, of understanding that I don't know much. But at the same time, I have this desire to learn and add value.
Mm. I
Yeah.
love that. And the way you explain each part of your career, I think, there's something to learn for everyone. So with all this, extensive experience that you have, to an LLB degree graduate who wants to get into compliance. Now, this is a person who does not know that compliance is such a big pillar, and that, you also have to find your niche in that. So somebody who just says, what, I'm actually interested in compliance, I've got my LLB degree. What would you say should be their point of departure?
Okay, I think you first need to establish that your LLB degree on itself is not going to be enough to open your mind, because compliance requires you to proactively, mitigate certain type of risk or compliance related risk. And in order for you to do that, you need to have a deep understanding of the business that you're working for. But also, you need to have a deep understanding of different functions that you support. So, you're going to be supporting different functions within an organization. So, understand how an organization works. And this really doesn't need for you to go and study. It needs you to just on yourself sort of study. It doesn't need, or rather, for you to go and get a qualification. It's just for you to understand how governance works and so on, while you are getting these small qualifications in risk management, compliance, and so on. But just be curious in how an organization works, because you're going to be supporting these organizations, and it's very important that you become an enabler, and not someone who comes and just is there to just say this is not allowed, that is not allowed. You need to be creative in how you apply compliance requirements. So that mindset, and changing your mindset just by not being someone who just knows the law. I think you get what I'm saying here.
Mm-hmm.
So while you are doing that, now look for an industry that you would like to get into. So there
Mm.
are different industries that have compliance in them, or that requires compliance. And therefore, you would need to look at the industry that you would like to get into. Because for for instance, you would get to an industry, and that's the type, it's a very niche type of compliance. You can't do general compliance there. That means your career will go in that direction. So if you are passionate about this one area, so that's your passion, you can go into a particular industry, know that your career is going to be there, you'll be advancing yourself in that same career. But if you want to do general compliance, understand that now your career means you're going to go into different industry, but have this general idea of what is compliance and be able to read laws. Like, just read laws and understand how to read a law. I know it sounds simple. We know this from law school and all of that, but just have, like, be able to read laws and interpret them. It's a skill as well, but also be able to implement. I think many people, which is just my view, in terms of having been this in South Africa and compared to maybe where I am now in the UAE, is that probably in South Africa, people focus more on getting qualifications. They focus more on adding to those
Mm.
qualifications. That's not a
Mm-hmm.
bad thing, obviously, as we've mentioned, but sometimes you need to study and implement. Studying for a long time and not implementing, it means that you are not trusted, that you can actually start processes from initiation to end. And that is the message, that if you want to be a global talent, that is a message that you would have to speak. You would have to say, I know how to initiate this particular process and actually mature to a stage where it's at its mature sort of stage. I
Mm.
think that's my advice for just like up and coming compliance officer. Don't focus so much on just accumulating these qualifications. Know that you have to implement, and when you're implementing, you fail. Do that CRMP, that compliance risk management plan. It's a boring exercise, but you need to do it. Do those risk management plans. Do them. They will teach you so much about the business that you're in. They'll teach you so much about the law, but also they'll teach you so much about just like, you have to think outside of the box in terms of identifying controls. So don't forget to
Mm.
implement. That's my message today.
Okay. Okay, so you touched on, being a global talent, and that is something that you are because you were headhunted, to move to the UAE. I want you to speak a little bit on visibility. How were you seen? Because people who are headhunted are seen somewhere, people don't dig for you and then just pick you. You are seen somewhere. There's something that you're doing that is exceptional. So for you, what do you think made you stand out? Why do you think you were approached to, for a better job, to relocate to the UAE? What are some of the things that you did to make sure that you are visible?
I think take your career serious. I think that's the first thing. Take yourself serious. Take your career
Yes.
serious. And I think this
Mm-hmm.
is the message for women as well. Like, I think in corporates, we don't take the seat at the table, and we waiting for someone to tell us, oh, you can sit here, you can join the
Yes.
meeting. And I mean, when you are speaking of your career, and you are speaking of what you do, everybody must listen, because this is a very important
Mm.
topic. And really, this is not about, coming off as aggressive or you saying, listen to me. It's just really to say, this is a serious part of my life. And therefore, I'm taking it serious. And therefore, this is the topic that I study. And you should know it better than anyone else. If you are assigned a particular task in the organization, you are the person that knows this topic, and you should ensure that you know it. And when you speak, people trust you with that information. I think one of the biggest thing about being in compliance is that you need to be trusted. And obviously, these things, they build over time. You build your confidence as a person, as a compliance officer, as an adult. Um, but I think one of the biggest things is that never be afraid to be an imposter. Like, just really, we all going to have that imposter syndrome throughout our career, but just don't be scared of being an imposter. And I think for me, throughout my career, is that people could see that, okay, this is a person who wants to learn, this is a person who's also confident in certain topics that she knows about, so that you build that reputation. And
Mm.
that says that when you go outside in these conferences, you have gained that understanding of self as a professional, and people can see it. But also, don't sleep on things like LinkedIn. Create a profile. Be serious about that profile. Just build it. Like, it's your profile. It's your career site, and therefore it should tell a story about yourself, and you should sell that story to everybody else. And I think for me, that was the thing that got me noticed. Also, I loved engagements. I still love engagements. I do a lot of engagements, either by attending or either by being part of engagement. And that's how you get noticed. You never know who is sitting there when you attend something. You never know when you are talking who is listening. So always take yourself serious when you're talking about your work. It's a very important area of your life. It takes most of your time.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely love the fact that you touched on diligence, taking yourself seriously, and that LinkedIn profile. I cannot stress this enough. There are people who are looking for jobs on LinkedIn, and there are people who are not looking for jobs, but jobs are looking for them. Because when people look at their profiles just speak so highly of them, and people are just like, I need to connect with this person. I need to hear what this person is all about. So if you're listening to this, please, if there's, one of the many things that you must take from this conversation is your LinkedIn profile. Watch videos on the internet, see, what you can put on your LinkedIn profile, what the keywords are in your industry or where you want to be, and just take that profile seriously, because even when you look for jobs, employers will look at your profile, just to see what you're about. So I really like that you touched on LinkedIn. Were you approached on LinkedIn?
Yes, so I was approached via LinkedIn, and the conversation obviously advanced from there. So important that you do that. You work on that profile. So very important.
Mm, love that. I absolutely love that. All right. So now I want to talk about additional certifications. Just touch on, the important certifications you think that people can acquire when wanting to go into compliance. I know the RE1 and the RE5 are super popular and important, but are there any other qualifications that a person can, look at acquiring if they're going to be in compliance?
Also, self-improvement. I would say self-improvement. I think that's the most biggest qualification you can ever
Okay,
get
okay, yeah,
outside
yeah,
of
yeah.
outside of the traditional
All of that,
sort of
self
schooling. All
improvement.
of that you can get there, but not be able to articulate yourself and not have the
Mm-hmm.
enough confidence to be in the room. Because when you're a compliance officer, you need to sit in rooms with senior people and tell them and that this law requires us to do this and do that and implement this process and so on. How can you do that if you don't have the confidence, you haven't really self improved, you don't trust yourself, you doubt yourself? So I would say that please improve on yourself. Read books on self improvement, but also just figure out who you are. You're not going to be the same compliance officer that drafts beautiful reports. And that's okay. Probably you're going to be the compliance officer that is going to probably drive innovation, going to introduce new ways, new processes to ensure that, a bank complies. So and that's your value, identifying your value. Probably you're going to be a compliance officer that drives training and awareness. You're so good at speaking. You're so good at speaking because that's another thing. You need to be able to understand the law. Yes, you understand it and you can understand it on yourself, but how do you then take that law and communicate it to different audiences? That requires a particular skill. So probably you are that compliance officer that trains, and there's nothing wrong with that. So don't try to be something that you're not, and try, if you know that you're not good at everything, that's fine. That's what a team is for. Another member of the team is going to draft those beautiful reports. You can get that skill, but someone else would do it, and you
Yeah.
know where your best skill is. So things like that. And I would say really fall in love with the work. Yes, qualifications, but fall in love with the work. In terms of what you can study, then if we insist on the qualifications component, I would say do a general compliance course. I think at the time when I started, this was just offering it for the first time. We were the first class, and they were just sort of telling us, like, you are our guinea pigs. And I'm like, it was very earlier on in the compliance days, but I think now they've advanced. I know that UJ offers like really good programs. I think they offer a diploma, if I'm not mistaken. That's general compliance, so you learn about everything, because compliance comprises of different controls, tools, pillars, and therefore you need to learn all of that, and you need to learn how to identify risk and compliance risk, and how to monitor. So monitoring is a language that you have to speak when you're a compliance officer. So you need to know those things, the concepts. There is Compliance Institute of Southern Africa. So they've really contributed to my growth when I was in South Africa. At the time, they were still starting as well when I was early in my journey as a compliance officer, but I know that they offer great sort of courses. They offer great programs on monitoring. So if you want to know how to monitor, I would suggest that you go to the Compliance Institutes of Southern Africa. So know about governance as well. Don't just learn about compliance, know about governance, know about risk management. I think risk management is one of your most important sort of program you can learn as well as a compliance officer. Yeah.
Mm. I love that you touched on the soft skills because, like you said, a lot of us, especially in South Africa, are so fixated on formal qualifications. It's formal qualification or nothing. And it's rare, to find somebody who highlights the fact that also work on yourself, also work on your work ethic, standing out as a person in the workplace as opposed to just accumulating qualifications, but not exactly being passionate about the work that you do, or not showing initiative, not being excited about what it is that you do, because it shows in the final product as well. So just in closing, anything that you want to say to an LLB graduate somewhere who's stuck, or someone in compliance, just anything you want to say to the audience in closing.
I think for me, for an LB, student who is probably starting about to finish their LB degree and just worried about where would their career go and where would they go, I would just say, you're not lost, you're curious, and that's okay. Allow yourself
Ooh,
to be
yes.
curious. Allow yourself to discover exactly who you are. You're not going to find all the answers. Absolutely. You are so young at that age that you're not going to find all the answers, but use those that answer or that leads you to something. Use that small clue that you get along the way about yourself, about your career, about what you like, and the conversations that you listen to. Use that as a clue to get you to where you want to be. And also, never be scared to try out different industries, different career paths within obviously the space that we're just talking about. So if they're saying we are looking for a risk analyst, and you say, but I have an LLB degree, maybe my job title should have law title in it.
Mm.
Don't be scared to take on things like that, because probably in that particular position, you're going to find yourself learning a skill that is going to complement exactly what you have. So don't focus more on titles, on how it should sound and how it should start or how it ought to start, because really each journey is different. We are all different. Our careers are going to play out different. You never know where you're going to find yourself. I never thought I would find myself in the UAE. I'm in the UAE now. So it's just, all of those things. And my advice to probably someone who is in the compliance space, or someone who is transitioning from the traditional legal sort of space into compliance, I would just say get rid of everything that you know and just say, I want to surrender into this new experience, and know that your best friends in every organization is your support function. So know what IT does, know what sales does, know what this particular operation does, and have those conversations. And there's this thing about lawyers, and maybe Sheila, you can actually attest to this. We are so scared of getting it wrong. I don't know why. Maybe it's
Yes.
the law school thing. Like, there's this, you're scared to getting it
Yes.
wrong. You don't know the
Yes.
answer to this thing. You don't know the reference to this law. So get rid of that mentality. Get rid of for
Mm.
you to surrender to a new thing, to a new experience. Get rid. Lawyers need to get rid of this idea of thinking they need to know everything. Just learn. It's okay. It's a process, and you're going to find yourself. So that is my message.
I love that. And I find that a lot of law graduates are in a hurry. And in that hurry, they're scared of making mistakes and they're just rushing to get to a destination or to a certain title. People are wanting to put on LinkedIn, I am this and this officer, this title
Yeah.
sounds so fancy and everyone's going to see I just got a new job. And that does not translate to you doing the job well. So, it's true. Don't rush for titles. You can have a fancy title, but be dying in that job. I know when I was in practice, I was not happy at all. And to all my friends and family, it sounded so cool. Like, oh, you're an admitted attorney, you're working in a law
Yeah.
firm, you go to court. Like everything looked fancy. Everything looked
Yeah.
very fancy, but I was not doing the job well. So it's very important to just, make sure that you're into what you're doing, because it's also going to reflect on the work that you put out. So Nosipho, thank you so so much for your time. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. I know that you were back here in South Africa for a short while, so I know you want to savor the time with friends and family. So thank you so much for taking out the time to speak to me and just have this conversation. Thank you so so much. I appreciate that.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for inviting me. And I wish you all the best in this journey that you're taking with your podcast. May it all go well. And yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much. So, if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Drop down to the comment section, leave a comment for me or Nosipho. It can be questions, and we'll get back to you. Subscribe to the channel so the family can grow, and don't forget to share this episode with somebody who you know could use this information. Until my next video, I'm sending you tons of love and light. Bye, everyone.